Alright, so today we're going to be talking about a character that definitely did have a mix of opinion when they were first introduced into the series and haven't been seen since, which kind of gives you an idea that maybe, they've kind of retconned it, but who knows. But we're going to talk about Jake, and if you don't know who that is, there'll be spoilers in this video for who it is, so if you haven't played Resident Evil 6 yet, for whatever reason, be warned. Alright, so now that spoiler warning's out of the way, and you're all kind of ready for it. Jake is Wesker's son. You find out in Resident Evil 6 that, Wesker had a son, and it's Jake. And he has some powers, from what you can kind of tell. He has inherited some of Wesker's abilities. Not as intense, but still a fairly powerful dude. And he's like the main plot point for 6. His blood is like the cure for the virus that's going around in 6. So he plays a vital part in the game. And he's a mercenary. He's a merc. And from the very start of his campaign, he's a bit of an asshole, but over the course of the campaign, he does kind of grow into a better character, and by the end, he actually becomes quite likeable. But again, it was a bit of a diverse opinion on his character as a whole when 6 came out, and that's just not his character, that's like the whole game. Like, the whole game had a mix of opinions, but I think he was definitely a big talking point for the game. And yeah, he just hasn't been mentioned or introduced again ever since that. And it's interesting to think about because with the remake territory now going into 5 and 6 potentially, will we see him again? Will they keep his character in the game? Will they kind of reintroduce him later down the line in the current mainline series, so RE9 or the one after? And if so, what would he do, really? Now there is an after credit scene in Resident Evil 6 with him, where he is still a mercenary, but he's a bit nicer about it now. So I guess he just roams around. And it would be interesting to see that maybe Chris, because Chris and him do meet in 6 and have a bit of a conflict about the fact that Chris killed his dad. But it would be interesting if kind of Chris still has a connection to the guy and maybe calls him in for help or something along those lines. I really don't think they should just ditch the character. I think it was well done. I just think it was kind of out there that Wesker had this secret son. But, the campaign, I will say, out of all 3, I do prefer Leon's in terms of an overall gameplay style, but in terms of the storyline, I think Jake and Sherry had it pretty nailed. Like, I think having Sherry come back after all this time and seeing that she still has like that G virus from her dad still in her body and she's kind of just used to it now is interesting. And I think Jake being Wesker's son is just as a whole quite interesting, and the conflict they have later on with him and Chris is really well done. So in terms of a potential remake for 6, I think they should keep his character basically the same. I like the fact that he's like this arrogant dude at first. It very much does give off some Wesker vibes at some point, just because he's so arrogant and only cares about himself. But then he just kind of later in the game become more kind of attached to people and a bit more of a decent human being. So I definitely think they should keep that side of it in. But in terms of him coming back, they should never ever make him like a fully fledged good guy or a villain. I really do think they should keep that merc kind of persona he has in a future entry if he was to return. He's not, helping anyone, like, fully. He's just kind of in it for himself. But at the same time, he understands, like, what is the right thing to do and who are the right people to help and who are the wrong people to help. So I genuinely think that is the best move, because not every character should just be, like, ultimately a hero and ultimately a villain. There should always be those characters every now and again that are kind of, both sides of the coin. And I think he's probably one of the more perfect characters to do that with. And considering his backstory and his bloodline, I think it just would be a shame to not have him come back in some way in the future. But that's pretty much going to do it. There's not much, again, about the character outside of Resident Evil 6. There's not a lot more information to go over. But regardless, let me know what you think of his character in 6. Did you like it? Did you think it wasn't very good? Do you think they could have done something differently with him? As always, leave your thoughts down below in the comments. And yeah, thank you all for watching. Remember to leave a like on the video if you did enjoy, and subscribe if you are new for more brand new Resident Evil content. And as always, I'll catch you all in the next one.